play. And so I have to walk by them, and literally out of deference and respect to them, I walk by with my head kind of down, but I don't want to be rude either. So I look up. And I don't know if Mike was there that day, but I know who was there because I remember this 3 decades later. A guy by the name of Tom Licklider was there. We call him Tick. And he did the same then as he does now. He comes out to support you all. And as I got to Tick, I looked up and he looked at me and he looked into my eyes and he said 3 simple words that have reverberated in my being for 3 decades. Very simply, he said, "Nice shot, Bo." And in that moment, I thought, you know, I have a chance to belong. I don't know if you've had good school years. I don't know if you've had bad school years. It goes differently for different people. But I tell you what, part of my job here today is none of us get off this stage today without you hearing these 3 things, young people. No matter what you've done, no matter what accomplishments or not, you matter, you count, and you belong. Remember that from today. You matter, you count, and you belong. I forgot to tell you, this is audience participation. If you agree with that for these young people, would you let them know so? I do know the God that created you is looking over on this side of the stage, and 34 times he's saying the exact same thing he did when he started creating people. He's saying, very good, very good, very good, very good. You've got a value that no one will ever be able to take away from you. Count on that. Story number 2. Well, we have to fast forward. No, I'm sorry, we've got to rewind, I guess, about 7 years, and a little kid from the mountain had moved into Salisbury across the street. And so everything was new. New school, new teachers, soon-to-be new friends, and he was trying to find his place. And one day after school in the wintertime, with nothing to do, he walks across the street, and he hears a noise coming from this room. And the noise is thump, 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 thump. And he recognizes the noise. He recognizes the noise as bouncing basketballs because in the 3rd grade, his phys ed teacher, Miss Renwick, used to let him shoot baskets instead of do phys ed at the school in Springs where he went. He gets very excited. And this little guy says, "I want in there." And so he weasels his way in there. And there's other little kids, but most especially there's big guys in there, and he wants to hang around with the big guys. And so about 20 minutes later, a man with a whistle shows up. Good-looking young guy, I might add. And he explains to the littler kids that basketball practice is about to begin and they must leave. Unexplicably, for a reason unknown to this day to the little mountain kid, he makes them all leave, except one. And he lets the little guy watch, and he lets the little guy learn, and he lets the little guy be exposed to big people like you are now. And some of those big people are in this room today, and they might have been a little bit annoyed by me, but they didn't let on because they made me welcome. There were big guys with names like Paul Riley and Fred Kolb and Randy Schrock and Mike Rimbold and Goose and Bob Green and 2 boys named Resch. 2 boys that would, for the next 4 years, take care of the little mountain kid and make him believe that he really did count. But not anyone as much as the man with the whistle. If you haven't figured out, the man with the whistle at that time was your outgoing principal. If you'll fast forward another 4 years, it's time. I got this thing with uniforms going on today. I don't know why. It was time to get JV uniforms. And the man with the whistle comes to me with 2 shirts and he says, "Numbers 12 and 13 were the numbers I wore, and I'd like you to wear them." Now, the little guy isn't the sharpest tack in the drawer, but he understands that this is a big honor. And so I hope I've warned them and everything else you've taught me well, sir. Being that, who are my 2 math teachers, are wrapping up their career here today, I thought it was appropriate to do some things with some numbers today. Number 12 was Jean's home number. Appropriate because for years and years and years, Jean and Carol's home has been here in this building. Times 6. 1 for every year that you and me and many of you have been under or were under their watchful eye, learning from them for each year we went through school. 12 times 6, last time I did math, was 72. Are you proud of me? Plus 2. The number of points a basket count when we used to shoot them equals 74. That number today takes on a much greater significance because that number 74 is the number of years Gene and Carol Wagner have poured into you, into me, and into many of you into this school and this community. And we will never ever be able to thank you guys enough for that. But I think we ought to let them know that we thank you. Last story, we've got to rewind again. It's a little fifth grade guy, and this last story is your blackmail story. If your Starbucks card is ever running low and you need to refill, after this one, you can call me and say, Bo, if you just hook me up, we won't spread this story around. Of course, about 500 of our closest friends were here, so it might not work so well. Little fifth grade guy is out here playing on a playground that used to exist before the elementary school. Some of us talked about that earlier. And the little guy wasn't always a youth pastor, and for whatever reason, he let the F-bomb fly. Well, he let it fly loud enough that a young lady named Kathy Durst was back here, Beach Edition, was teaching at the time. She also, unfortunately for me, went to my church. Now, I don't know how this works for you all, or how it worked for you all, but I knew in my house, if I heard Dave or Bo, it was all good. But if I heard David, I ran. If I heard David Samuel, I ducked. And if I heard David Samuel Showalter, I ran and ducked at the same time. So when Kathy Durst says, Dave Showalter, you can hear right now, I want to talk to you, I knew I was so very busted. And she proceeded to just let me have it. She never wanted to hear me talk that way again, and you know what? It was totally appropriate. She was wanting more for me than I wanted for myself. But here was the problem. For the next year, I can't look Kat in the face because I think that every time she sees me, she sees the little guy that let the F-bomb fly. She would be horrified to know that because she was always supportive after that. What's my point of the story? My point is this, young people. Don't you dare let any mistake you have ever made to this point define you. You are so much more than the sum of your mistakes. You matter, you count, you belong way too much for that. You live in the land of no regret as you go forward. Make me that promise today. Well, that was just a part of the people who helped me get along. You've had them too. See, besides the fact that you matter, you count, and you belong, you've been made ready. You have been made ready by the people who have cared for you. You have been brought up in a legacy-making community, in a legacy-making school, among heroes. Your heroes took the time to teach and worry about you. They drove you to school. They watched out for you. They came to things that you did. They have stayed here and built churches and businesses and community in other people's lives. You are part of a legacy-making community and a legacy-making school. You count, you matter, you belong, and whether you know it or not, you are ready. Finally, young people, you are loved. You are loved beyond what you will ever know. Thousands of years ago, there was a young guy, and his story is told in this book I carry with me, the best-selling book of all time. It's not only a great guide for life, it's quite a history book. And this young guy your age, God said to him, go to some people who, like you, are about to be spread to the far winds. You're about to go in many different directions. So were they. Problem was, where you have excitement and maybe some anxiety and fear, they had only anxiety and fear. And God said to Jeremiah, he said, you go tell those people I care so much about. This is what I say about them, and it's true for you today. He says, I know the plans I have for you. Plans not to harm you, but plans to prosper you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. Young people, you count, you matter, you belong, you are ready, and you are so very loved. 3 things I leave you with. Faith in God, a deep love and respect for other people, and hard work. They are an unbeatable combination for a joyful and a successful life. Salisbury, will you join me in letting your most recent success story know exactly what we think of them?